Happy New Year, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to week 18 here on Big Blue Avenue. I'm Tom Scavetta, joined alongside my co-host, Sam Cardona. Sam, another week, another L, but promising stuff by the Giants in week 17. First off, how are you doing tonight, and initial thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. The game was a little bit of a tease, mostly because of how close it was kept. Coming down to the end of that game, it was a bit of a heartbreaker because we did say last week on the preview that we didn't think we would be able to win, but it was still going to be a game. Like, it was a winnable game for us. It just was a matter of whether or not we could actually do it. And we were so close. It was very, very close. Um, and if anybody saw the video on our YouTube channel over the weekend, you saw my reaction to it, which was pretty devastated. But yeah, it was interesting, but I can't believe we're already entering the last weekend of the year. One more Giants game to go. Unfortunately, no playoffs this year.
It sucks. Don't get me wrong. It definitely sucks. It was a down year, a lost year, I should say, 5-11. By the way, uh, doing content with you this season has been awesome, even through the losing, I will say. And if you want to catch Sam's video, great reaction to Mason Crosby's missed field goal and the final moments of that game. Now, I want to say last week's show, to my previous point, was our most watched show on YouTube of the season, over 1,700 total. So thank you all very much for tuning in last week. I think I didn't check Facebook, but if you combine Facebook and YouTube, we probably went over that. But thank you all so much. We can't do this without you guys and gals, all the supporters here of the show. And if you want to continue to check us out, make sure to follow us on that ticker below. We'll leave up there for just another moment. But I will say there were some down spots to this game, but there were also some bright spots as well, Sam. I think we saw a couple really rise up in this game. Sean McVay in his post-game presser credited Wink Martindale's defensive scheme in this game, saying it was one of the toughest defenses his Rams team faced the entire NFL season, despite scoring 26 points. And Sean McVay, of course, grew up liking the Giants. His grandfather, former head coach of the New York Football Giants, so that definitely, some ties to the organization. But McVay knows good coaching. I mean, we've seen McVay rise from the very bottom. McVay was 31 years old when he was hired as the Rams head coach, Sam, and now he's been a very experienced coach. They're constantly in the playoffs besides last year, but I thought Wink's defense really did a good job against a playoff caliber offense. It struggled early, but in that second half, Giants did a really, really nice job pressuring Matt Stafford. 2 interceptions.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that not just in this game, periodically throughout the year as well. This defense has given the offense a lot of chances, some of which we've taken advantage of, some of which unfortunately haven't been taken advantage of. But our Giants defense is the strong part of our team, and that's why we're going to be focusing offensively in the draft, of course, and in the offseason. But I was so proud to watch this defense. They're just every week, Bobby O, Micah McFadden, Kayvon Thibodeau, all these guys, like, they step up every single week and they do everything in their power. Sometimes they're even putting points on the board for us. Jason Pinnock, Adoree Jackson, they're doing everything that they can. And I appreciate that as a fan. Obviously we're struggling in different parts of this team, but there's one thing is Wink Martindale hopefully isn't going anywhere next year and will only make this defense better because, it's only, I would like to think it's only going to get better from here. They did a phenomenal job.
Absolutely. As folks, you may hear that helicopter flying over my house heading to Rikers Island right now. Little fun fact.
There you go.
Way to make a awkward sound fit into the show. But you're right, Sam. You hit everything on the point there. The offense is really what's derailed the season. But I will say, the Rams only survived by 1 point. Mason Crosby missing a field goal as time expired. But I want to ask you this: Brian Daboll's key decision here late in the game to, I believe it was go for two after Gunnar Olszewski's punt return touchdown rather than kicking the PAT. What would you have done in that situation? Me personally, I would have kicked it. My rule of thumb: if you're at home, you kick it. If you're on the road, you want to get out of there with a win. In that situation, I would have kicked it with the way the offense was playing on Sunday. It was very hit or miss for me.
Yeah, that was incredibly frustrating to see because we had it. Was like the worst part, but Saquon just, I don't know if it was Saquon running incorrectly or if it was Tyrod throwing behind him, but I would have wanted the extra point there. It's a pretty much a certifiable point. Um, I get why he wanted to do it. Like, I understand, and he's trying to prove a point as a coach as well. Especially after seeing something like the Lions Cowboys game on Saturday with Dan Campbell continuously going for two against the Cowboys defense. But I would have much rather, as a fan, felt the security of getting the extra point. And we talked about this as well as it was happening because we were both really confused. Because it would have been a different game. I think that it really would have changed the course of the game if the extra point was kicked instead.
I know the game has changed with analytics and everything, but why was Tom Coughlin the head coach as long as he was for 12 years? He rarely went for two. He only went for two when he had to. I think analytics has taken over the game a little bit too much. There are times where it's needed and it's, welcomed, but other times I think I would rather not go for two in that situation. But I will say, the real reason why the Giants lost this game, in my opinion, the inability to stop Kyren Williams in the red zone. The Rams were 3 for 3 in the red zone. Kyren Williams had 3 rushing touchdowns. Puka Nacua had 118 receiving yards, including that 80-yard catch. Tyler Higbee was slicing and dicing over the middle. I think somebody asked me on my flight back from Florida Sunday, should I start Tyler Higbee or Cole Kmet? And I said, go with Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet wound up playing 3 snaps. Tyler Higbee had 6 catches for 62 yards. Go under. That shows you my faith in Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden to defend him. But 30-year-old Higbee got the better of the Giants. But Sam, it's just both sides of the ball. The Rams just dominated. 6 sacks. Kobe Turner, the rookie, ate up John Michael Schmitz alive. Aaron Donald had 2 sacks. The O-line just was not good once again. And unfortunately, it further proves, regardless of who's back there at quarterback, they have to upgrade this O-line unit for sure in the offseason.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of the Rams offense, I mean, we were talking about Puka Nacua, and the fact that he was dealing with an injury at some point last week and was still able to come in and be an exceptional part of that offense. Just goes to show how much that Giants defense was doing very well for us, because that offense going up against a mediocre defense, they would have been just all over the place. They would have had 40 points on the board. It would have been really a different game. So it just goes to show again how important our defense was in this game because of how a semi-injured Puka Nacua was playing, because I was really not expecting him to play as well as he did.
Yeah. Another thing too, I really want to bring up, Puka, phenomenal performance for him, but about Darius Slayton. How about Darius Slayton? 2 weeks in a row breaks his career long on a single reception, 69 yards on Christmas Day, and an 80-yard touchdown catch from Tyrod Taylor this past week. Now has 700 or more receiving yards in 4 of his first 5 seasons. Sam, this was a guy we almost wanted the Giants to cut at the beginning of last season, and I'm thinking back to it. Imagine if they did. This offense would be lifeless right now if they did that. I mean, David Sills is off the team. Tony's off the team. Hodgins hasn't been much of a factor this year. And granted, Tyrod Taylor's throwing to him, but I mean, Tyrod's probably playing his last game as a Giant Sunday. And to see Slayton, he wasn't just doing this with Tyrod. He was doing it with Vito Jones. The Giants draft the quarterback next year. I'm fully confident in Darius Slayton as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. I think Slayton's definitely a Giant next season, and I think he's proved it, especially over the last couple of weeks. Hell, he has more receiving yards than Darren Waller.
I
And
know.
that's saying something.
And Darren Waller has even been up and down for us
Yeah.
this past season as well. But unfortunately, we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. Our guy Shep is probably going to be on the outs after this season. And I'd like to think Darius Slayton is going to step up to be this veteran presence, especially in the wide receiver room, which is so young right now, with Hyatt, Wandale. These guys aren't as seasoned because they've just joined the NFL. So Sterling Shepard, while he's been a great asset to our team for so many years, is probably not going to be on our team next year. Next man up to be the veteran is Darius Slayton. And after playing a better game, like these past few games that we've seen him playing a lot better than we've had in the past, I'd like to think that is going to be a boost of confidence for him as well. And to be a guy to oversee these younger guys who have so much potential, I'd like to think that our wide receiver room is going to grow in a good way, as opposed to seeing it as a bad thing about losing Shep.
And to your point, seeing what we got in these younger guys too, behind these veterans, Jalen Hyatt had 3 catches. Daniel Bellinger had 4. And I think last week when we did the show, Sam, we mentioned we want to see more of those younger guys step up and make football plays. And we saw Wandale with the rushing touchdown. He's been phenomenal this year. He's been healthy since he came back, so I'm thrilled about that.
Daniel Bellinger had an amazing first down for us too. And I was like so stoked to see, because Daniel Bellinger is a completely underused receiving target on our offense. He's great with blocking. That is where his strength is and what his role is in this team right now. But it's very obvious that he could be utilized in much different ways. Like, he's a brute. He could push people down. He could get those first downs for us. And I hope in these upcoming, off season and then in the following season next year, we kind of see a little bit more of him in a receiving way as opposed to just as a blocking tight end.
Agreed. Big fan of Daniel Bellinger. Happy for him. Needs to get more reps. Absolutely. Sam, what did you take away from this game, though? Were there any key takeaways that you took? Anybody that stood out that has kind of flown under the radar this season?
I know that we acquired him later, but Isaiah Simmons, I think, is a shining light on the defense that we are going to use like nobody's business next year. We talked about it and how he was kind of like not really getting a lot of use when he first joined, and then we saw a couple key plays that turned games and were incredibly efficient in the defense. So I just definitely would love to shout out Isaiah Simmons, and I really am excited to see more of him, not only on Sunday but next year as well.
Yeah, I thought Nick McLeod really stepped up too, and Simmons is a great pick, by the way. I think he's flourished a lot in this scheme for Wink's defense. Nick McLeod outsnapped Trey Hawkins last week, who was a draft pick for the Giants this year. I think it says more about Trey Hawkins' lack of development this year than Nick McLeod, but Nick McLeod did really good last week. It was catch, tackle, catch, tackle. He wasn't missing tackles. He was really, really good. I mean, the Rams were just 2 for 8 on third down, so I'm not saying he's going to be anything special ever on defense, but as a special teamer, he has been a core piece the last 2 seasons that he's active every week. He does not get talked about enough. So I'm really happy for him. I am. But unfortunately, Giants are on a 3-game losing streak. We know There's one game left this season. Brian Dable's job is safe, of course, as it should be. Again, this will be the first time in, what does it seem, like 6 years, a Giants head coach will have lasted more than 2 seasons. Incredible. Again, nothing to be proud of, but I guess for our standards, unfortunately, that's something to recognize. Who did we go with as our player of the week? I think we had a little bit of issue this week coming up with our player of the week, so I think we might have went with multiple.
Yes, we have co-players of the week this week for Big Blue Avenue. Number 1 is Mr. Dane Belton. Super, this was something that was incredibly efficient on our defense, as we were talking about earlier. 2 interceptions, 2 pass deflected, a fumble recovery, 2 tackles. The New York Giants 1-2 exchange, 3-1. Filled in for Jason Pinnock after getting injured. Obviously, was a bit of a loss. Pinnock had been very efficient on our defense. 76.2 PFF grade, second on defense. He stopped Puka Nacua short of the end zone on an 80-yard reception. Obviously, could have ended a lot worse for us if that went through. First New York Giants player with 3 takeaways in a single game in nearly 10 years, and he was a 4th-round draft pick in the 2022 NFL Draft last year. Or 2 years ago. Oh, man, we're in 2024 now. I'm still 2023. And our second player of the week, which I'm pretty excited about. This one was one that was going to be my choice. But Gunnar Olszewski. That's how you say it, right? I hope I'm saying it right.
Yes. Yep.
Gunnar Olszewski. He was the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week this week. 94-yard personal record for a touchdown. Oh, sorry, punt return in the 4th quarter. 4 returns for 108 yards, which is a 27-yard average. It's pretty good. Second career touchdown. The first was in 2020 when he was still on the New England Patriots, and he was a solution to an early season problem. I remember signing him and us saying, okay, I guess we'll see what he's got. And he's enhanced the special teams a whole lot, I think, and was very exciting to see for sure.
I think these are 2 awesome selections, and I'll just unpin this here. Oops. Yeah, so Gunnar Olszewski, guy who I feel like would have fit on this team better when Joe Judge was the coach, but he's here now, and I'm happy he is. Yes. Giants had a lot of fumbling problems early on this year. Eric Gray had issues coughing up the football. At one point they were having Darius Slayton back there field punts because nobody could effectively hold on to the football. And they finally brought in Gunnar. Special teams ace. Again, he himself had some fumbling issues with Pittsburgh, but he was really good in New England, and that was his 2nd career touchdown. I mean, he's been phenomenal since coming over. He makes the right play. He never really panics when he's returning, and rightfully so. He made a game-changing play that probably should have helped the Giants at least tie the game, if not won it late. Mm-hmm. So, not to mention, he also stepped up as a holder this year when Randy Bullock got hurt and Gillen had to fill in and kick. Olszewski was the one who held the ball on Gillen's, 40-yard field goal, something like that. So, shout out Gunnar. And Dane Belton's a player, again, he has been so good. And I was reading an article today. Young backups are really only one good game away from becoming a starter. And I think we saw that last week. Jason Pinnock left with an injury. Pinnock and Belton are on the same level. Belton comes out and causes 3 turnovers. He's in the right place, right time. He looks like a prototypical Wink Martindale defender, as in he blitzes well, he covers well. And again, causing takeaways, knowing where the ball is, especially on that one fumble. He fell right on the football rather than trying to pick it up and run. He just got the football for his team, and awesome stuff for both players. Very proud of them. Young players, too. Um, the one bad thing that stinks for the Giants, I'm kind of sad about this. Tyre Phillips, torn quad, season-ending injured reserve. He will have surgery. He started 9 of the last 10 games at right tackle. So, Sam, your guy, Matt Pert, is back for one final start, probably, as a member of the New York Giants before hitting free agency. So, it sucks that Phillips can't start against his team he played on for 6 weeks during the season in the Eagles. But at least Matt Pert gets one last chance to prove himself to possibly get another NFL contract with a different team. That's all I've got to say on that.
Can't believe they took away a Tyre Phillips revenge game from us.
Yeah.
Can't believe it.
It's very unfortunate. But, yeah, wish him the best. And Matt Pert will likely start at right tackle this week. Let's move on to our preview. The Philadelphia Eagles are back. I know a couple weeks ago we had Jordan. Tonight it's just you and I here. Unfortunately, Jordan couldn't make it, but I know she's not too happy right now, and a lot of Eagles fans are not too happy right now. I've talked to a couple at work, and they're very down on this team. A lot of them are saying they might lose again this week. So I want to hear your initial thoughts on this game, as they are favored by 5 points and will be playing all of their starters, most likely.
Yeah, and since Jordan couldn't be here, I'll fill in what she told me this afternoon when we filmed Unsolicited. She is, first of all, she said she was in hell. She was like, I cannot believe this is happening to me. And she said that there may or may not be an Unsolicited podcast next week if the Giants end up beating the Eagles. We might need to take a little friendship break for a little while. But it's, yeah, a lot of Eagles fans are really down on this team. I mean, they looked bad. They looked bad. We beat the Cardinals. I'll just put it out there. The Eagles and the Cowboys both lost to the Cardinals, and yet the Giants and the Commanders could beat them. Let's just put that into perspective for a moment. So this team, I felt the same way going into week 16. I was not as afraid of this team as I thought I was going to be. I was more nervous about being at the link. But being at MetLife, I'd like to think that hopefully fans will show up. Hopefully fans will kind of create a bit of an atmosphere, especially after how the Eagles have been playing. But I know from personal experience last year, I went to this Eagles-Giants game at MetLife Stadium, and I felt like I wasn't in East Rutherford. I felt like I was in the link. Like there was so many more Eagles fans than there were Giants fans. So I'm hoping that we kind of turn that around a little, bring a little home energy to this. And I know so many Giants fans are going to talk about losing this game, getting the better draft pick, so on and so forth. We have that shot to get the second pick in the draft. But how good would it feel to end the season off beating this Eagles team? I just feel like it would just be a nice nail in the coffin for us. And it would feel really good. And isn't that what we want as fans of a sports team? We want to feel good. We want to see our team win. We want to see our team thrive. So that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I know you're probably hoping for as well, is a win over the Eagles. And I think it's entirely possible.
I do too. I did say on last week's show, I do have this on record. I did say that the Packers win might not be the last win the Giants see
You did?
this season. And I will say there has been some locker room drama reported with the Philadelphia Eagles surrounding star A.J. Brown. So according to the Philly Inquirer, the Eagles locker room is fractured, and star wide receiver A.J. Brown is at the center of it. His frustration is supposedly tearing the team apart. One veteran said, and quote, anytime you have bad body language from a leader like that, other guys see it, and it's not good. This is reported by Philly sources. So, Sam, are you buying this with AJ? We know there was some drama in Tennessee that got him shipped out to Philly. Is there something brewing again here? Is it maybe Brian Johnson? I mean, all due respect, he's an awful offensive coordinator. He is so bad. Even I could predict every single play that the Eagles are going to run. The only thing that works for them is the damn tush push. That's all that works.
I know. I genuinely, with the way, not only the way AJ Brown has been playing, the way AJ Brown has had lack of targets, I'd like to say. Um I feel like he's probably frustrated, to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it's very obvious that this team is not cohesive right now. There's a lot of things going on. Who knows? We've seen a very reserved Jalen Hurts. I'm not entirely sure what he's like in the locker room. I don't know if he does a lot of, speaking up. I don't know if he's more of a reserved kind of guy um in the locker room with his teammates, but like, if things like this are happening, especially this part of the season, your season's done. Your season is done. You're not going through the playoffs with a mentality like that. And, after a hard sequence of games of loss, it's not looking good for them. And, I don't want to be the one that says, like, I told you so, but like when the Eagles were winning all these games, I was just like, this can't be like I know I don't know if that was the hate in me as a Giants fan, but I was like, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. It just didn't seem like this could be a team to repeat a Super Bowl again. It just didn't seem right to me. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. AJ Brown does seem like the type of guy to stir the pot a little bit. And also Devonta Smith is also injured. He was seen in a walking boot, so that's probably bringing morale down as well. Your team's falling apart, and there's only so much you can do about it right now. And odds are the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East.
And this is why veterans like Julio Jones need to step up on that offense.
Who's
Jalen
like
Hurts.
barely been around too.
I mean,
No one's talking about Julio Jones.
I know he scored 2 touchdowns last week, but those were his only 2 catches of the game, and I think those were his first 2 with the Eagles.
Yeah.
And then Jalen Hurts has looked. I mean, if the Eagles play the Eagles right now with a 5 seed, they'll play the winner of the NFC South. They may lose to the winner of the NFC South at 9-8, 10-7, whatever it might be. And I'll be honest, if they play Tampa Bay, they're definitely losing. Baker Mayfield has looked better than Jalen Hurts has this season. Baker Mayfield's looked like, I'll be honest with you, he's looked like a top 10 quarterback out there this season. That's what he's looked like this season, folks. Take that very loosely when I say that. I'm not saying he's
top 10 quarterback in the league.
Yeah,
ever.
Sam wants me to double down on that, but yes. And when you lose to Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals, your former defensive coordinator, who a lot of Eagles fans trashed after Gannon got the job, well, guess what? You lost to him, so you can't really say too much right now. And Eagles fans will do what they want, of course, but what a terrible time to go on a slide, Sam. 10-1 to 11-5. That's gross. They 221 rushing yards in this game. They got outgained by the Cardinals, 449 to 275. Where there's smoke, there's fire. AJ Brown is clearly at the center of this right now, and he needs to be better. He needs to get the ball more, yes, but he needs to play better too. He needs to be a team player. He needs to lift guys up, not push them down. Not bring them down, I should say. But you're right. I want to beat the Eagles very, very badly, especially after Christmas Day. Game-winning pick thrown by Tyrod Taylor. And the Giants' last 2 losses, Sam, have come in the final play of the game. And it sucks. It really sucks.
It does, especially not only with the Eagles game. I mean, the Rams game, that just, that came down to a kick. It is what it is. But the Eagles game specifically, there were flags. There was clock mismanagement. There was just so many things that could have been done just a little bit better, and we would have won that game in Lincoln Financial Field, which is like not something the Giants are capable of doing at all a lot of the time. So I'm I would just really love to kind of be the last team to put that last bit of exposure on the Eagles going into the playoffs because one, I agree. I think the Buccaneers are going to win the South. I think that they're going to win this last game. And we're going to see Baker Mayfield in the playoffs, which I love. People that don't know, I love Baker Mayfield. I've loved him since he was in Oklahoma. So to see Baker Mayfield go into the playoffs and then play the Eagles and have the Eagles be done in the first round, it would just be it would make up for the Christmas loss. It would make up for everything. So I it would mean so much to me. And then again, winnable game. Ever since we put in Tommy DeVito all those weeks ago, ever since, Daniel Jones went down, every game that we've played has been a winnable game. It's just been the matter of what small thing has just obliterated at the end of games for us. So we'll see what happens. They just got to play good football.
Yeah, and that's it. And Brian Daboll's team has not quit like other coaches have seen the Giants team do in the past. So, and that's another reason why Daboll absolutely gets at least the third year, if not 4, to get this right. But moving in, let's get to our keys to the game. Sam, I'll start with you here. 1 or 2, what are you looking at here for Big Blue to pull off this, I guess you would say, upset and come out on top?
I would definitely say the first thing that we were capable of doing 2 weeks ago that we could definitely do again is stifling the run. Boston Scott has always been a problem for us, and he really wasn't a factor too much in week 16 on Christmas. So, doing that again would definitely be helpful, as well as just being disciplined. And obviously, there's been a lot of problems with the refs over the course of the season that is not entirely always the player's fault, but don't give them a reason to give us flags because that's what's been hindering us sometimes in these games. So be disciplined, stifle the run. As always, offensive line, step up, protect the quarterback, do what you got to do, and get the ball into the end zone. You have so many great targets. And hopefully Darren Waller doesn't lay on the ground in the final 12 seconds of the game and what the hell is going on? Maybe he learned that.
Yeah. Protecting Tyrod is key so that they can get the ball down the field too. The Giants have surrendered over 80 sacks this year. Awful. Historically, probably the worst offensive line in Giants history. Get the ball to Slayton, Waller, Wandale, as you said. Establishing the run is going to be key in this game, and I think the Giants do it. This could be Saquon Barkley's last game as a New York Giant, and a lot of people are going to tune in and ball out because we don't know what the future holds for Saquon. There's going to be a stare down again for the coming months. I mean, yes, the playing season might be over for the Giants come Sunday night. But Sam, once week 18 is done, yeah, there's no playoffs. But you know what? There might as well be a postseason because all the talk until March will be the Giants and Saquon Barkley. It's going to be Saquon. It's going to be a little bit of McKinney because he's due as well. But it's mainly going to be Saquon. What's going to happen? He's been here for 6 years. I guarantee this. He runs for 100 yards and scores on Sunday. The Giants had 465 total yards of offense on Christmas Day against the Eagles. That was not by mistake. And meanwhile, the Giants benched a quarterback in this game and still scored 465 yards. So I think for me, staying ahead of the chains, staying out of 3rd and long so that Tyrod Taylor can manage this game really, really well, and Saquon can do his thing and keep Jalen Hurts on the sideline.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
But do you think, Sam, this is Saquon's last game? I can't get a good read on this at all. I know Shane won't budge, but I don't think Mara will budge either. Mara doesn't want to move on from Saquon. We all know that, but Mara's not really a businessman. He's not really a business guy. I don't know what's going to happen here. business wise, I think it makes sense for this to be it, but team wise, loyalty wise, it's like, how can you move on, especially with the potential of a rookie quarterback coming in next year? You'd want Saquon around for that. No, that's
For
what I don't
sure.
understand.
The thing is that the reason why this read is so hard, and I was thinking about this earlier actually, because I was thinking about the last off season how we were struggling to figure out what was going to happen then. Um, Saquon wants to be a Giant, and he wants to stay on this team. He's talked about how much he loves this team. He talks about it all the time. It's just a matter of the money. And one of the things that I remember talking about in the off season was his agent possibly telling him to take like a year to like hold out for a contract. And I was like, that's the worst idea you could have ever had. One, for a running back, two, for a 27-year-old running back. Like, that's definitely not what you're supposed to be doing. His time is limited. He's had injuries. And last year he did great for us, but this year it really hasn't been as much of a factor as we wanted him to be. The veteran presence would be great, and he stayed healthy most of this year. He didn't have any like major injuries this year. So that's probably going to be part of it. I'd like to think that they're going to do everything in their power to get a contract done, but it's tough. It's tough to say because if Saquon wasn't on this team this past year, I don't really think our season would be much different.
Right. And I am looking now. Saquon did miss a little bit of time. I'm seeing he missed weeks 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, it wasn't a major injury. It was just a thing that kept him out for 3 weeks, and they kind of played it safe with him. But the Giants have ran him into the ground this season. He only has 4 rushing touchdowns, 4 receiving. Granted, the Giants' offense has been porous, but as much as he wants to be a Giant, I could easily see him putting on a Baltimore Ravens uniform, God willing, and him loving it there. Playing with Lamar Jackson, because that's a piece they're missing too, running back position. So I want Saquon to be a Giant for life. I do, and he always will be, even if he moves on. But I've got no answer right now. I really don't. It's going to come down to the stare down once again, and it's sad to say, but it is what it is, and that's why I'm watching him this Sunday. He was given the Good Guy Award by the media today, and he is also up for Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. If you repost, a bunch of the Giants players and fans are doing it. If you repost their, Saquon voting post, he gets like, Sam, I think it's 2 votes for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. So I think he'd be an excellent candidate for this award, and I think he deserves it. If he does leave this year, seeing him go out with that award as a New York Giant would absolutely make my day, 100%.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm very excited about that. But let's move on to Philly, Sam. Give us some players to watch. Who from Philly is going to escape this locker room drama and play well on Sunday?
I think for this come around of the Giants Eagles game, I'm gonna go more defensive here. Every Georgia Bulldog that's ever been drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, those guys are going to be one of the main assets of this team. Or rather Tyrod and this offensive line. We really got to see, because their defense isn't phenomenal, but they'll do what they need to do, especially with a weak offensive line. So I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on them. I'll also mention Dallas Goedert just because I feel like he was a bit of a thorn in our side on Christmas Day as well. And on the Giants side, I'll go I'll go defensive on that end as well because I really think that this is going to be more of a stopping the offense kind of game. Bobby O, Deontay Banks, these guys down the field who are going to be covering guys like AJ Brown. Um, you know, keep the numbers low. Keep this a close game because again, it's winnable. It's and our defense is somebody that we can rely on, and as we've seen these past few weeks. So definitely those types of guys to just keep it low, get them off the field, keep the offense on the field as much as possible. Do your best.
Right. Yeah, that's it, really. I mean, for offensively, too, I mean, you mentioned Dallas Goedert. Yeah, he was really good on Christmas Day. I'm also thinking about DeAndre Swift and what he's done this year.
Mhm.
First year with the new scheme, offensive scheme, rushing for over 1,000 yards, averaging over 4.5 yards per carry. Had 96 yards and a touchdown against the Giants in Week 16, so that could carry some weight over a little bit. I know Dexter Lawrence did not play in Week 16, so that might have been part of the reason why. But all in all, I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Jalen Carter, who's really improved throughout the course of the season. 6 sacks, too, as a rookie from an interior defensive lineman is phenomenal. The edge rushers, I mean, Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat. Reddick has 11 sacks on the year. I'm excited to see Tyrod, maybe Darius Slayton against James Bradbury a little bit. That might be a fun matchup. And yeah, that's pretty much what I've got for the Eagles. Sam, who do you have for Big Blue? Anyone in particular? And then we'll announce I believe the Pro Bowl candidates or Pro Bowl rosters just got announced before we went live. So I'm going to add that quickly here to the script. But who do you have for the Giants?
Yeah, like I was saying before, guys like Deontay Banks, and who was the other one I just said?
Bobby O.
Bobby O. These guys are going to be playmakers. They're going to be guys that are going to get Jalen Hurts on the ground, that are going to slip by Jason Kelsey, who could possibly put points on the board, intercept turnovers, which they did a great job with on Christmas Day. And so these are the guys that I'm going to rely heavily on because our offense is struggling. It's going to be a little rough. Tyrod's going to be kind of all over the place. I'm relying on this defense a whole lot. Mike McFadden, all these guys on the defense that are just going to hopefully carry this game till the end.
Yeah. Banks did not play last week, so I'm interested to see if he plays. But offensively, I mean, Saquon and Tyrod Taylor, those two, Tyrod making his 5th start of the season, probably his last game as a Giant, unfortunately. And then Sterling Shepard, who we have not talked about this season really, because he is pretty much just riding the bench. And this might not just be his last game as a Giant, possibly his last game as a pro in the NFL. And you have to consider his career and what he's done here, scoring 8 touchdowns as a rookie, playing in 2 playoff games, going through all that losing. What is he going to do on Sunday? Are they going to give him some targets? Defensively, Dexter Lawrence, who was just named to the Pro Bowl, by the way, one of 4 Giants finalists to actually make the roster. I'll reveal the other 3 in just a moment, but yeah, Dexter Lawrence, phenomenal season for him. I'm looking at him too on the defensive side of the ball, Sam. So, I mean, we could go on and on here, Matt Pert, right tackle, but I mean, realistically, it's going to come down to who wants it more. It's Week 18. Giants should spoil the Eagles' hopes of the NFC East and, make them a wild card team like they deserve to be right now. They don't deserve to be division champs. There's been no repeat division champ in our division for 2 decades.
100%.
But quickly here, the semifinalists for the Pro Bowl, as we know, Dexter Lawrence named to his 2nd straight Pro Bowl. Semifinalists were Casey Kreider. He did not make it, but he might be an alternate. At long snapper, Jamie Gillan, punter, was a Pro Bowl alternate as well, and Kayvon Thibodeau, a Pro Bowl alternate.
Wow.
So
I'm
excited for
surprised he didn't
those
make
three.
it.
Me too. 11 and a half sacks. He was a force all year. Bobby O got snubbed, though. He definitely got
100%.
snubbed. But there's going to
Guy's
be
been a
snubs
monster,
every year. Yeah.
for
He's
sure.
clearly a Pro Bowler. Clearly. But quickly here on Dexter, fifth-year pro, named the Giants' only 2023 Pro Bowler. He's the first Giant to receive this honor in consecutive seasons since Jason Pierre-Paul Folks since 2011 to 2012, and
Wow.
the team's first interior lineman to be selected to multiple Pro Bowls since the 1950s, and was the first Giants' first Pro Bowl interior lineman since nose tackle Eric Howard in 1990. So last year, he was the first Giants Pro Bowler at that defensive tackle position in 32 years. My goodness. It's a long time. It's a very, very long time. I'm just going to delete this here. But Sam, quickly here, we have a few injuries. Obviously, John Michael Schmitz and Jason Pinnock are at risk. I'm interested to see if Devontae Smith plays. I know you mentioned that a few moments ago. I mean, the Eagles' receiving core is not deep. I think that's why they signed Julio Jones.
It is, yeah.
Zacchaeus, who hasn't done much. Quez Watkins. I mean, these guys don't do much for me. That could be part of it too. Their receiving core is just not deep.
Yeah. No, I think they put all their eggs in one basket when they got AJ and drafted Devontae Smith. But yeah, I don't know if he's going to play. He was from what I understand, he was either on crutches or in a boot or both.
Yeah.
Which is never a good sign. It's one thing to have a taped up ankle or something like that, but to be full on in a boot is never a good sign. Yeah, I'm interested as well, but you're right. They don't really have a lot at receiver, and if Jalen Hurts doesn't have anybody to throw to, which is kind of why I chose Dallas Goedert as one of these players to watch, because he could just be slinging it to his tight end. Like, who knows?
Dink and dunk, intermediate routes.
Yeah.
Lastly, before the game predictions, Hassan Reddick, he's ill, did not practice. And then Jordan Davis as well, two defensive guys in the trenches. So part of the reason why I chose Saquon is those guys not practicing. It limits the Eagles' depth. And we know Saquon is a bell cow that plays through all three downs, essentially. So definitely intrigued about that. All right, folks, it's time to get to our game predictions, our final game predictions of the season. Sam, who are you riding with this week, week 18?
I'm going to end this season off. The last game prediction, I'm going to go with the Giants. I have to. I can't go for a mediocre Eagles team right now. The Giants team in MetLife Stadium, week 18, they're going to play spoilers. It's going to come down to yet another Mason Crosby field goal, which he won't miss, and it'll be 24-21 Giants.
Wow. I love that. Redemption from last week.
Yeah.
See what you did there. For me, I know I kind of alluded to something last week, but I thought about things today, and I started to sway the other way. But you know what? I'm not going back on what I said on last week's show. I'm also picking the Giants. Book it. Giants win by a final score, Mike Wazowski style, 23-19.
Nice.
Yes. So I have the Giants winning by a weird final score, but I think the Eagles somehow wind up with 19 points for some reason. Don't ask me how. But all right. That is my final score. And I think Saquon will have an awesome game on Sunday with his future uncertain. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, folks. Want to thank everyone tonight for watching. I know we went live much later than normal. Apologies about that. We'll likely be back to normal time for the last show or two. We'll probably have 2 more shows where we do our top 10 player reveal of 2023. And then next week we'll recap the Eagles game and then go through some superlatives from the season, kind of a little recap of everything and what happened, a little post-mortem, I should say. But Sam, any final thoughts before we get into Philadelphia and sign off?
Just another season in the books. I know we got a couple more shows to go, but it's been a ride. I'm happy that we were able to do it together. I'm happy that we've constantly been in contact with each other during these games, because I don't think I'd be able to do it on my own. But yeah, I'm feel very good about this. At this point in this season, last game of the season, just feel good about it. Feel the confidence going into it. Who cares at this point? The Eagles suck anyway. Go Giants.
That's right. Looking for a New York Giants win against the Philadelphia Eagles. Folks, if you like what you watch, make sure to check us out on all of our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. Appreciate everyone. Appreciate everyone who tuned in last week and tonight as well. We should be back to around that 8 p.m. start time next week. We'll post in our socials about that. On behalf of Sam Cardona, I'm Tom Scavetta, wishing you all so long. Happy New Year, everybody. Cheers to 2024. Hope it's much better than 2023 for the Giants. And without further ado, let's go Big Blue.